Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mudhorn. My name is Jason, and I am Mark Jackson less today, but that's okay because I have three members of the excellent band Skeletor from Seattle, and we're going to talk a little Star Trek, mostly Next Generation today. So I'm pretty excited. I just discovered these guys last week when they were on Mark Jackson's podcast and checked out their album. And actually, I have to tell you guys, I was pretty jealous because my band is also writing a Klingon inspired tune, and you beat me to it by a whole EP. So I was like, damn. But in all fairness, ours is like there's an episode of Next Generation where there's a rogue group who like got lost in time and they just want to attack the Enterprise because they think they're at war with the Federation. So the premise is like them like sneaking up, decloaking, firing, and then actually getting blown out of the sky. So your subject matter really didn't interfere with our vision, so that was good. I was afraid we were gonna have to like change it drastically just so we didn't play like second fiddle.
Oh, hey, I mean, there's a rich reservoir to reach into for TNG subject matter for sure.
Yeah, there's so much. So yeah, I really think the EP. It's called
That's good to hear.
It's I should have looked it up. I just
Blood Empire.
Blood Empire. I was going to say Blood Wine, that was a song.
Yeah,
It's called Blood Empire, released this year. The artwork is really cool. I won't get into it too much, but I did dig the Simon's Quest or Castlevania-esque framing on it. So if you want to hear more about the album, you can listen to Martin Jackson's podcast, The Metal Forge. It was last Friday's episode. So check it out. I'm not going to get too much into the album with these guys today because there was not much more to say. Although I will have to ask about the singing. Is it intentional to kind of sound like Skeletor, or did it just kind of form into that over time because of the name of the band?
I mean, I don't try to sound like Skeletor at all.
Right.
It's just when I'm in that higher registry, I think people assume that I did or something. I don't know.
Gotcha. Well, see, my band member who listened to it, who like is the singer, so I shared it with him after I listened to it to make sure, he didn't like accidentally rip you guys off subliminally or anything. He was like, "Yeah, I really didn't like the singing until I got what the guy was going for," and I was like, "Oh, what do you think he was going for?" Because I was kind of confused, and I was assuming it was like a Klingon High Council myself. But he's like, "Yeah, man, he just sounds like Skeletor." I was like, now that you say it, I really do hear that. So yeah, kudos. I mean, the name Skeletor, you might as well, right?
Yeah, why not? Well, I'll own up to it.
Yeah, cool. And just so everyone knows, I'm wearing my Castle Grayskull Disney shirt.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, my wife got it for me. She knows I'm a dork. My Castle Grayskull's upstairs. My kids play with it. I don't ever get to play with it, but yeah, there's all kinds of shenanigans going on in there. Some Disney characters making their way in there and falling through trapdoors and such. So
that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
What was it? We were just talking about the metal bands and the Star Trek thing. I hate to get sidetracked from the Grayskull thing. But like there's some other cool bands that have done the Star Trek deal as well. There's Tanagra out of Portland, I think it is.
Okay.
And then there's a band called Force Field from, I think they're like Wisconsin or something like that, and they actually have a Darmok and Jalad song.
Yeah,
and it's like really cool. But they've done a bunch of stuff that's what do you call it? That's like Star Trek related. They've done like multiple songs and stuff. So there's
cool. Yeah, I was always wondering, like, there's a few Star Wars themed bands out there, and then other random sci-fi fantasy, a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff, probably a lot of Game of Thrones I haven't heard yet, stuff like that. But
Warhammer,
I don't know. Star Trek was always like that one. Like, is it too dorky to write songs about? But I always thought it was great stuff myself. So, yeah, I'm happy there's more of it to be shared. What'd you say the one from Wisconsin was named? I got Tanagra and
the Wisconsin one is Force Field. Let me look up the album name real quick because I think there's like a bunch of Force Fields on like Metal Archives or whatever. So it's not immediately clear unless you know which one you're looking for.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I guess they're the only American ones. So it's Manisha, Wisconsin. Yeah, and then they have Emissaries of Light was the album that they did that has the Darmok and Jalad, that Tanagra song.
Okay.
And then their most recent album that just came out last year is called Saucer Separation. So
Nice. That's some super dorky shit right there. That's
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah.
like
That's
season 1, episode 1 or 2 right there.
that's top tier right there for
Yes.
sure.
I'll
All right,
be in the
guys,
battle
let's,
bridge, Captain.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the topic at hand. Let's talk some next generation. So I'm just going to go around. I'll start with Jason first, and then go to Rob, and then Leona. Did I say that right, Leona?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you? What do you remember first? The first time you were introduced to Star Trek and Next Generation in particular?
Well, I'm going to start with the original series because that was my first moment.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
kind of a traumatizing experience because my mom was going to work and she's like, "Hey, Jason, you want to see this movie? It's called Star Wars, but it was a VHS dub, and at some point it's going to stop, and you won't be able to see the rest of the movie. We'll have to rent it." I was like, "Okay, cool." I'm like 4 years old. I watch it. The droids get to Tatooine. The Jawas capture them, and then the movie stops. And I'm like going through the tracking, try to figure out like a way to like delve into the VHS and find the rest of this movie. Then I'm flipping the channels on the TV, and it's like, next on Fox Channel 6, Star Trek. I'm like, oh, cool, Star Wars. And it was the episode where Kirk and Spock go to the mob planet. And I thought it was the most boring thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. And now it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm more of an original series person myself, but you know, when I was 4 years old is also when the Next Generation came out, and I continually kept watching Star Trek because it was on, and I got into it more and more over the years. So by the time, you know, the last episode came out in 94, I was completely entrenched in Star Trek. Deep Space Nine is my favorite show of all time. Next Gen it's in the ranks, but I think I saw those first few seasons so many times in syndication that it drove me kind of insane, and I got like ridiculously bored with them. But I've been rewatching them lately, and it's top notch. It's wonderful.
How about you, Rob? What was your first memories of the show?
Well, I mean, mine aren't as cool as Jason's. I just remember watching on TV, like getting together with of all people, my mom, watching it with my mom. And my dad absolutely hated all sci-fi, all fantasy type stuff, but my mom was like pretty casually into some science fiction. And we ended up kind of bonding together over TNG. I don't remember the earliest like episode I saw, but I definitely recall seeing the Tasha Yar death scene from season 1. And it's like super lame. Like when I went and watched it more recently, but I at the time I was like freaked out because it was like, oh, this main character died. What the hell? And I just couldn't, you know, at the time, I mean, that was like what, late 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, 87 or 88, I think.
So I was like pretty young, and I didn't quite understand why like one of the characters that I really liked was going away. So
Because she was in Playboy.
well, yeah, and there also the
was Tasha Yar in Playboy? Was it like a Star Trek themed issue or
Yeah,
something? Or
she did one issue and she got fired after it.
oh, okay.
and there was also some like years down the line we find out that there was also some really like not good stuff happening on set between her and the showrunner and such. So
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. So
Well, how about you, Leona? What was your earliest memory?
I have memories of seeing bits and pieces in like occasional episodes from like the early 90s, like 92, 93 or whatever, when my dad was watching it on TV when it was still airing. And I didn't super get into it because a bunch of my friends were Star Wars like nerds. So it was just kind of like off to the side or whatever. And, you know, we were like 8 or 9 or something like that, and it just wasn't like, it didn't hit then, but like then, like what was it, later on, like in my early adulthood, I went back and like actually watched all of the Next Generation and all of Deep Space Nine, and all of Voyager, and then subsequently part of Enterprise, and I kind of fell off after that and haven't watched anything new since then. But
yeah, so I recently did a whole rewatch of Next Generation, and then I started splicing in Deep Space Nine when the timeline caught up to it. So I think it's like season 6 Deep Space Nine started. So I kind of went back and forth, but I actually finished the Next Generation a couple days ago, the last episode. So what happened was I had a baby, and when you hold a baby, there's not much to do. So I just decided I was going to just watch Next Generation for just out of the blue, and my wife was like rolling her eyes until she's like, "Hey, that was pretty good." I was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, of course it is. It's like this is like when sci-fi was like really respected your intelligence, instead of
Yeah.
going the Marvel route where everyone's just like, I'm wittier than that guy kind of thing."
Yeah, and what has the biggest budget and has the most
Exactly.
crazy effects and the biggest battles or whatever. Like,
And
And
I
that's my
didn't
problem
think
with
Next Generation was
Discovery.
too bad. I mean, still,
oh, like, I don't know, it just a lot of the time my favorite episodes of TNG are definitely like the ones that are just like not basically devoid of special effects, like what is it, the episode, what is it, Chain of Command or whatever, the one where Picard gets like captured and tortured.
yes.
There are
Like,
4 lights.
the infamous 4 lights episode.
Yep.
But like there's just like straight up excellent acting, and the plot line is excellent, and it's just, yeah. But you don't really get that type of experience where there's just really well thought out dialogue and stories in most of those sort of modern flashy sci-fi, like Marvel, like you said. And even
That's what I was trying to bring up about Discovery, is that it's too much about action. It's too much about like too many shots, too many, like I can't take it. Like it's not actual sci-fi. It's just like a comic book,
I haven't watched any Discovery, but one of the reasons I rewatched Picard, not Picard, Next Generation, was I thought Picard was so bad. I was like, was this show that bad? Like, do I remember it differently? So that's when I started watching it, just to see how much it's changed over like 25 30 years toward Picard. It was just like, it was like in name only. It wasn't really anything to do with Next Generation except for like some character appearances.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, really, like, what the hell? And then I watched both seasons. It was tough to get through them, and I was like, I'm gonna watch Next Generation just to see if I remember this differently. And I remember it being really good. I was like 7 when it came on, watch it with my dad every week. So yeah, it was definitely much better writing than the newer Star Trek stuff. Even Strange New Worlds is kind of like, I don't know. It's the Enterprise is like way too modern looking when it's supposed to be before the original series, and like they're just like,
Yeah.
this was the Enterprise. Like, well, why did it look like a hunk of shit like back in the 60s, but now it looks awesome? It's like, I don't know. It's like, it would have been cool if they made it look like retro and like starting out in Starfleet and stuff like that, instead of just like, yeah, this is like the best ship we have out of all the other ships we have, and it's so modern and clean and cool lights everywhere and 4K screen, and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know. I just really can't get into it. So I'm just done with the newer Star Trek stuff. I think I just stick to the Rick Berman 90s era, and I guess that's it for me. And the original series stuff, of course. Yeah.
I'm actually, speaking of the comic book thing, I'm actually curious. I just saw a couple days ago that there's supposed to be a new direct sequel to Deep Space Nine comic book that's coming out in
Nice.
like a few weeks. So I guess it's supposed to pick up the Dominion War, where that, or right after that, like from where season 7 was. Which is kind of what I wanted to see more of with when they kept coming out and announcing more, of the sequels. And I was like, oh, it's another prequel. So.
Is that the one with Cisco and Crusher on the cover? Is that the one you're referring to?
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
I
one.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's cute, but it's a fucking comic book. It's not, I want to actually watch,
Oh yeah,
Cisco do things on
I'd
the
much
show.
prefer that. But like at this point, I'll take what I can get for returning the story,
And
Yeah.
my
Also,
other
too-
issue with that is that then my mom's gonna call me and be like, "Oh my God, there's a new Cisco show." I'm like, "No, it's a comic book, Mom."
Like, I think too, in terms of newer media and newer, I don't understand why there's such this inclination to make everything like prequels, whereas like, why don't we explore some new areas or new things? Like, if you already kind of know what the destination is going to be, like
Yeah, I
going into
agree.
the series, that kind of hamstrings like the writing, the stories, etc. Because you know what's going to happen. You've already seen the future.
Yeah.
I don't need a third Captain Kirk in my life.
Yeah.
We're already there.
2 is enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, why don't you just make like Next Generation 2, a different crew in the future with like more stuff, going on. I was like, I don't know why they're just like trying to fill in holes, which like already kind of filled in if you just pay attention. Like diverting real quick to like Star Wars, like the Solo movie. It's like I thought it looked fine. I thought it was like very Star Wars, but it bored me to death because there was no suspense because I already knew what the hell happened. I knew everything about it and like what Han Solo did. I just felt like it was like after Rogue One where they just filled in this like one little plot hole. I was like, well, that was really cool. And then it's like, yeah, but I already know all this stuff about Han Solo. I know how he got the ship. I know how he met Lando. I know, Chewie's his co-pilot. I know the Kessel Run, what it was, 12 less than 12 parsecs, blah, 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 blah. But I just felt like it was unnecessary. And I think that's why that movie failed, is because everyone else that was a Star Wars fan knew that story already also. And didn't really need to see somebody else play it, which I thought was kind of weird. They would go there with an iconic figure like Han Solo. But we'll divert back to the future here, Star Wars or Star Trek, sorry. So rewatching this show, I picked up a lot of stuff that's like modern themes today. I don't know when's the last how close you guys watched it prior to recording this.
Couple months.
It's actually quite amazing how they were talking about like non-binary people. There was an episode where Riker fell in love with someone who could have been a male very easily. And he was like wasn't ashamed about it.
Yeah.
There's a couple where interracial relationships form between different species, like obviously Worf and Troy getting together in season 7, stuff like that. And also father issues with Worf and Alexander not being ashamed to say like, hey, some dads just have a hard time being a dad. The focus on mental health not being stigmatized was another big one I thought was pretty cool. Like back in the late 80s, you didn't go to a psychiatrist, otherwise you're wimpy, for lack of a better word. So just stuff like that I thought was really cool. Like the themes that you hear about today all over the place was just like sci-fi, but written with respect and wasn't ridiculed, so to say, back in those days. So I thought that was a really cool pickup from watching it with modern eyes versus when I was 7 and didn't know what binary or anything like that was, or ever heard of it for that matter.
Yeah, I think that there's what was it like, especially in say like Deep Space Nine. There's a bunch of like in the queer community, like lots of reference to like Dax and and stuff like that. It's kind of become an icon within that,
Yeah,
because the way that the symbiotes and the Trill like kind of like play with the concept of like gender and sexuality and the implications of that. It's and like you said, they kind of handle it respectfully for the most
tastefully.
part. Yeah. And so it's held up in that regard as something that people can relate back to and kind of see themselves in.
Another big one at Deep Space Nine is the whole Israel-Palestine situation. with which we have, within the whole Bajoran community. And then obviously the Cardassians being occupiers, which you could also think about World War II, but it's also really focused on Israel as well. It's totally fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts how a lot of it mirrors like today. Like I was like watching, like picking up on like the different races and species and stuff. And it's like it's really based on societies on Earth a lot, I would say, like present and historical. So like for instance, I think the Ferengis are like, the capitalists, but they disrespect women. So it kind of reminded me like maybe like the Middle East with like Sharia's law and stuff, but it was opposite. It was like, oh, we don't let our women wear clothes. Or Sharia's law is like, you better wear clothes, 85% of your body, stuff like that. And then there was like, the Klingons are kind of like Norse in a way, like kind of same ideas, but like different gods and beliefs and stuff, the Federation's, socialist, like everything's provided, and everyone's happy. You have your place.
No money.
Yeah, there's no money, and the Cardassians, I guess, can maybe be like kind of the Chinese, the Communist Party, maybe like they're just kind of no nonsense. This is the way it's going to be. And then you got the not Vulcans,
Romulans.
Not the Vulcans, but why am I drawing a blank here?
Romulans.
No, man, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. The Vulcan cousins, like the guys who look kind of the same.
Romulans.
Yes, Romulans. Sorry, I don't know why I forgot that. It's like in my mind. And then, like, the Romulans are a little similar to the Cardassians and stuff. And then the Vulcans are kind of like the Buddhists, and so it's kind of cool how like each society on Earth is like represented in space, under the guise of different species, kind of interacting with each other.
Was it that the Vulcans were based on like or not Vulcans, sorry, the Klingons were based more on, if I remember correctly, more on kind of like samurai, like Bushido kind of things. Is that correct?
Yeah, it could be like maybe like more like
I think Mongolians.
Yeah, I knew it was like it was more East Asian, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, it was like the whole like honor and like gods and like dying by the sword kind of thing. I guess that could be from
Right, yeah.
both cultures historically, because obviously Genghis Khan was a conqueror, and they're always like talking about just like conquering other ships they run across and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's not exactly culturally specific and a lot of those values, so
warrior culture, everything's based around being a warrior, the proud warrior, the most fiercest, the most so
yeah,
honor, valor, pride.
Yeah, like
I agree.
Power, right? Yeah.
So who's your favorite characters? Like just take the bridge crew for right now. Like who were some of your favorite characters like on the show, and like who you could relate to?
Barkley.
Maybe Data, because
Barkley. Got to tap behind your ear to reduce the. Of course, she would say Barkley. I mean, I always really was a big fan of Geordi LaForge, of course, and I really like Data too. But I think Data might have just been because like he's like, oh, and he's a computer, he's like an android, and yada yada yada. And I don't know. It was definitely at the time those two, and then as time has progressed, like certainly Riker is just like one of the most ridiculous characters out there in terms of the shenanigans he gets up to and the things that happen.
Riker's definitely my favorite as bridge crew.
Yeah,
well, you're also a Kirk guy, so
yeah, I'm a Kirk guy.
Well, yeah, I think that like Riker is definitely like he's just like the most entertaining to follow, like as far as his exploits, and like there's like all that, and then all the yeah.
Yes, we know.
The way he has to sit down every single time.
Oh, the over the chair thing.
Over the chair. Yeah.
That's my favorite. I'm gonna try that one day on my wife. Just see. So what the hell's wrong with you?
And then the other thing that just completely cracks me up is the trombone, like the whole like that.
The symbolism of the trombone, we all know. Yeah.
Just like what the heck.
Known, throughout the galaxy to be the coolest of all the instruments.
The cool.
Yes. Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird. Like, they're always like referencing like old jazz players on the Enterprise, but there was never any like rock and roll, like even stuff from like the '60s. There was like never, it was never mentioned once. It was always just like old jazz players, mostly by Jordy. But Data always did. He played in that string band, because he was like technically proficient and perfect. And it was always like classical music or like old jazz. It was never like any rock and roll or even like, well, I guess rap wouldn't have really been a thing back in '87 to really like talk about because there wasn't much history yet. But yeah, it's just kind of like old people music was like the standard on the Enterprise. So it was kind of weird.
There's only one episode. I think it's like season 1 or something. There's some kid that comes to the ship, and at some point he's listening to like Klingon rock and roll or heavy metal type.
Yes, I do remember
shit.
that now. Actually, I do remember that. Yeah, you're
And
right.
you only hear it for like 2-3 seconds. But that was him like being like, I'm a teenager. I'm gonna listen to what I want. Yeah.
My parents hate this. He was listening to Stovacor, basically.
Basically. And weren't his parents dead or something too? Like I forgot the whole.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, even though I just watched it, I still like 100 something hours to remember each detail.
Yeah.
It's hard to like unlock that stuff, compartmentalize it sometimes. So, but I do remember that. I do remember the episode,
especially if it's early in the run. If it's like in that season 1 time frame, like that season is cool, but not once Riker gets the beard, the show like just goes. It just exponentially gets better. The beard
is what made the show. Yeah, the season 1 is like hit or miss. Like there's some cool stuff. There's some really weird, boring stuff. Like the one where like some dude just shows up to marry Troy. It was like maybe the worst episode like in the whole series. It was just so boring, It's like, this sucks. But
dude, the one where Luxana, Troy, and Alexander have the mud bath. That is possibly the worst episode of Star Trek.
The one where they put Worf in at the end too, in the mud bath.
Yeah.
Sit here. Yeah.
Luxana Troy is such a great, entertaining character for like the wrong reasons.
Yeah. She was in more of them than I remembered. I actually thought Q was in more episodes, but he was only in like 7 or 8, which kind of surprised me. He wasn't really not in it.
He was in like 5 episodes of Voyager.
Oh, is he? Okay. I know he was in one in Deep Space Nine because I saw that one. It was in the first season. I'm on almost season 3 now. So
that's when the show. Yeah. That's when Deep Space Nine gets good.
Yeah, I've heard it gets better, like especially when Worf shows up. I've heard it's really good. So I'm trying to like get through it, but some are kind of dull.
So Worf helps, but also Cisco becoming bald is just like Riker getting the beard.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll keep an eye out for the shaved head Cisco then, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much at the start of season 4 when he shaves his head, right? Like he just shows up and he's bald, right?
Yeah.
Does he turn? I know right now he's commander, but he turns captain, doesn't he?
But yeah, somewhere towards the end of the show because of the Dominion War.
Gotcha.
It's interesting how like Happy Days had the jump the shark, and like TNG has the like jump the beard, but it's like the inverse. The show gets way better, and then Deep Space Nine is the bald head. Show gets great.
It's like you can determine the epochs in the show by the length of certain characters' hairs, like how drastic their haircut changes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Leona? Who's your favorite characters on the bridge crew? And you can count Crusher, even though she really wasn't bridge crew, but she was main character.
I mean, I'd have to go. I have to join the bandwagon, and just like it's not so much as a relatable character, but just just Riker is just entertaining to watch. Like all the shenanigans that go with that. He's like yeah. If I didn't want to piggyback on everybody else, I would probably say like Geordi, and he's cool, engineering, all that stuff, but. Plus, there's LeVar Burton and the whole Reading Rainbow like association that I have.
Sure.
Like it's just like cool because like you watch all the stuff on like PBS, and then like you see LeVar Burton, and you see him on like Star Trek, like doing stuff like out of a book or whatever,
Right. I know what you mean. It was like a little disjarring. Like this guy's reading you books, then he's like making warp drive engines work again, and
Right, but it's
like.
it's like, you know, but it's like there's that, like, you know, like that familiarity thing or whatever, you know. It's like you see it at school and then you come home and the dude's doing something completely different and cool, you know. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
He's like comfort food almost.
right, exactly.
A
Yeah.
kid back in the 80s and 90s was reading Rainbow on PBS and then
Yeah,
Star
yeah.
Trek on whatever channel was on syndication, you know.
Mhm.
Nobody picked Worf. I'm surprised. Surprised about that.
I mean,
Worf
Worf's
is-
one of my favorites, but I like him more in Deep Space Nine than I do in.
I've
Yeah.
heard he's better in Deep Space Nine myself. I'm looking forward to getting to it because I don't know what it was about Deep Space Nine. I think they started showing it like 11 o'clock on the channel here with like rabbit ear TVs, and like it was like school night. I just never really watched it. Like I remember I remember a little bit of it. Like I remember all the characters like Quark, Odo, Cisco, his kid,
Jake.
Doran, Dax, of course Chief O'Brien, you know, who fixes everything on the ship. He's the only guy who knows anything about anything on the ship, but or the space station, I should say. But it just came out on a weird time, so I never really got to watch it, and it just kind of faded from memory, you know. And then I was just like, it was on, like I started wondering about it, and I was like, well, let me see when this lines up because I do remember it had like some overlap, and so I waited for season 6, and then I started watching, you know, 1 or 2 Next Generations, 1 or 2 Deep Space Nines, back and forth, trying to just, you know, keep in the pocket with the overlapping story, which there's not really a whole lot, but you know, there is some references.
Some of the extended like references to the Klingons in Deep Space Nine are really cool too. Like they explore the Kalis thing more.
Mhm.
So like those are cool to check out. And you know, then they have like what was it? Yeah, there's like a few more episodes with like that. There's this yeah, there's like 3 or 4 of the like you know, like the generation before Worf Klingons. And so there's some contention there too with like the way that Worf does things versus how they do things, and so there's a lot more interplay with like that kind of stuff too. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to it. The stuff I like about Worf though is like since he's like kind of versed in human ways, he's always like kind of just like I guess if you would just take like a traditionalist like from another country and like they come over, like I think like Middle Eastern people are like really bad for this. Like the parents will come to America and like the youngster is like into like heavy metal or like, you know, movies or, you know, just something they don't really approve of, and they're just like the kids I was torn like make my parents proud or enjoy this cool shit we have in the West. And like Worf kind of remind me of that sometimes when like the other Klingons would show up and they would just like ignore him because he's like, yeah, you're not traditional enough, you know. And but he's
right,
like,
yeah.
yes, well, I will kill you with my batleth if I need to. So how about that? You know, and it's just always just back and forth. And then especially when Alexander is introduced into it and he's like trying to parent, you know, it's like, well, I guess my kid should be full Klingon, but he's also like half human and he's also among humans. So it's always like this tug of war with like, what should I do the right thing or am I doing the right thing? Which, you know, I think I can see a lot of that being a father too. Like, if my kid becomes of age, like, why are you listening to country? No, you need to listen to metal and play metal guitar and do all this stuff. None of this BS over here. You need to concentrate on the good stuff right here. You know, this is what you need to do. Like, am I going to be that guy? I don't know. Probably.
Well,
Always said that if I did have kids, they would hate my music.
Well, that's kind of usually what it is most of the time, the children rebel against whatever the parents enjoy. So
yeah.
My kids would hate Black Sabbath. Let's just put it that way.
Oh God, we don't need people like that on this earth.
No, I'll let other people have children.
What was it? Another thing, speaking of the Klingon and the next you know, the Deep Space Nine thing, it was kind of funny. Like initially when we were putting together the EP, I looked into trying to see, you know how they have like Cameo and stuff like that where you can get like voiceover things. For the intro, I wanted to see if we could get the guy who plays Gowron in Deep Space Nine. But he wasn't listed on there, so we couldn't do it.
Yeah, that would have.
Gowron figure right here.
Yeah,
Hell
yeah.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Oh,
Picard hasn't showed up yet. I bought one figure per season, and Picard is lost in the mail somewhere.
Oh no.
aw,
So of course Riker was my number one purchase, for obvious reasons.
there you go.
Leano, do you think you would have fell for Riker if you're on the Enterprise?
I'm more in the Troy myself.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Troy's all right. I thought it was kind of weird her wardrobe changes all through the seasons. Like it went from like kind of like revealing to like more like skin tight, and then like finally they're just like, you know what, you're just gonna wear a Starfleet uniform because you're a damn Starfleet officer. And, like
Exactly.
when that one captain who filled in for Picard when he went on that undercover mission made her get into the Starfleet uniform, she never got out of it. So she was in it all the way to the end. You know, I thought it was kind of
Yeah,
I
it
was
was.
wondering what was going on in the writers' room for that reason. You know.
Yeah, I always kind of thought that was funny too, because like you have everybody's like in these particular uniforms, and then like, you know, Troy is just completely like, you know, like low cut shirt and everything like
Yeah.
that. And it's like, but then, you know, they kind of make it more consistent as time goes on, which I think from a, you know, like a portrayal, it makes more sense, you know, it makes it more cohesive, but like, you know.
What's funny though is if you watch the first season, other like extra characters, male and female, have mini dresses.
Mhm.
Oh.
So it's like there was more revealing of everyone, not
Mhm.
just Troy. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I remember some of them being in like just like, you know, less than standard Starfleet uniforms, or just like, you know, beam aboard with hardly anything on. You know.
Yeah.
The
Well,
one
you gotta get people
go
to
ahead.
tune in some way, right?
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. The one episode I do remember that as far as like Riker was concerned, that really cracked me up. I never really forgot about. Well, there's actually two of them. The first one is when he goes to the Klingon ship as like a exchange student program, when he's like just serving aboard a Klingon ship for a little while.
Mhm.
And they ask him, you know, if the food's too much, if he wants to be breastfed, and he's like came back with that, yeah, I'll just take both of those ladies over there at the same time. And then like they're like, oh, and then he's like, oh, he said, are they serious? You know, he was like kind of scared of them. That one cracked me up. And
That
then the
scene's
one
great. That's a
where,
really great scene.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. That whole sequence is great. Then the one where the lady, the Ferengis import that like lady who's supposed to marry that one like ambassador. She's like considered like the most beautiful like being in space. I guess it was the same girl who played Jean Grey in the X-Men, the first movies.
Oh,
Conka
word.
Jensen or whatever.
Yeah, the Bond girl one. Yeah. I remember she had a conversation with Riker, and Riker was like, you know, he's like, I'd love to, you know, spend the night with you, but I was always told you just don't open another man's presence. And I was, I was the greatest like turn like decline ever. Like it was the best, man. I just like I thought that was so awesome, that writing. So yeah, good stuff.
Funny,
Ridiculous.
I just finished watching Babylon 5 for the first
Mhm.
time. It's just actually incredible. I didn't realize I would love it that much. But the difference between Star Trek and Babylon 5 is that Babylon 5 had no subtlety when it came to its writing. It would straight up, they would say, do you want to have sex?
Right.
Not, I don't open other men's presence. You
Sure.
know?
They didn't beat around the bush or like innuendos like Star Trek did. Yeah.
Exactly. And I found that really funny because yeah, it's obviously Babylon 5 is a big Deep Space Nine ripoff, but it has its own merits. You have to watch it. I can't explain it.
That was another show that was in syndication. You know, I just for whatever reason I was busy with school or whatever. I just never sat down and watched it. But now that everything's available, pretty much anytime you want to watch it, I have no reasons not to. So I'll probably get around to some of these shows. Like I've never even seen Firefly. Yeah, everyone regards that as one of the best. I'm just like, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's worth watching. You just got to make sure you watch the episodes in order.
Okay,
So,
that's one of those. Okay,
they didn't air in order, and then you know there's the Serenity movie too to cap things off, and that's, you know, they did the best they could with what you know they had as far as resources and stuff like that. But you know, I mean, it's definitely worth watching.
Is it at least a tied up storyline? Because
yeah, like
okay.
They kind of rushed through a bunch of stuff in Serenity because obviously they had a whole thing planned out. But I mean, it's, you know, all there. So.
I'll check it out. Yeah, it's on the list. Like I said, my baby, he just sits there, so I need stuff to watch. So I'll have all kinds of time to catch up on some missed gems of my childhood for sure. So, who was you guys' favorite like guest character or recurring characters coming on?
Q.
Q.
Mm. He was good. I'm trying to think of some others offhand.
I really liked whenever Barkley appeared. I know that Jason mentioned him earlier. He was just so like neurotic and ridiculous. He just always
Yes.
really, really cracked me up.
I
Mhm.
forgot he was in the A Team.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't. That's been another one I haven't watched in a long time. I mean, since I was like a kid. I remember watching it as a kid. But yeah, I don't remember much about it. Kind of like Knight Rider. I knew it was there. I know I watched it, but I don't remember really any of it.
That was
Mark-
one of those, yeah, Knight Rider is one of those ones, like, I think that, like, by the 90s, you'd see the stuff in syndication. So if you stayed up at, like, till, like, 4 in the morning, you'd see a bunch of random episodes of shit from the 80s, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Like that, Airwolf, Knight
Mhm.
Rider. What else was there?
There was all kinds of random ones, like the Hulk Hogan ones, like Thunder in Paradise. And
I was just talking about that the other day with somebody.
then there's like what was it, like Quantum Leap was one that was really good that you'd catch occasionally.
Yeah.
Captain Archer.
Yep. Also, don't forget Xena and Hercules.
Yeah, like
We
what was
always had
it?
those on hand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What else was there? There's some other really weird, like bad ones. Like there was the Pam Anderson like VIP thing too.
I also remember Renegade, and then one of the
Renegade.
Highlanders.
Highlander. That one was on. I didn't really like Highlander too much. I didn't like the movies that much. So
I
didn't really bother with the
recently,
show.
within the last 5 years, I saw the entire Highlander series, and
How was it?
it's pretty incredible for many reasons.
Yeah.
But mainly I'd be like, wait, I know this guy. I know this guy. Oh, he's in Deep Space Nine. Oh, this woman's in Voyager. Oh, this dude's in TNG. You know, it's like you get to see all your favorite extra characters from all those shows in Highlander.
Yeah, there was a lot of people like pop up in Next Generation. Kind of surprised me. Like Kelsey Grammer was in one of them. He just like he was like back in time, and Picard's like, yeah, you're not where you think you are. We should talk. And then I figured he would have showed back up because Kelsey Grammer was a pretty big deal for Cheers back then. You know, so I figured, oh, he's gonna be in more. We never saw him again, so I don't know what they talked about. And so there's some other ones. I think like Joe Piscopo might have been in one, like a stand-up comedian.
Oh yeah.
Act that Data was trying to copy. Obviously, the girl who played Jean Grey was in there. And then some original series showed up also. Scotty was in one of the later ones.
Mhm.
Bones was in the pilot. And then
what's her name? Dr. Pulowski. She was in the original series too.
You know, I wondered if she was. It was kind of weird how Crusher just disappeared for like one season and then came back. Like, hey, I'm back, you know?
Thing is, she got pregnant.
That's kind of what I figured too.
But in Deep Space Nine, Kira got pregnant and she was like, I'll do the show. Fuck it. And they wrote it into the story. It's weird. She is inseminated by O'Brien's like fetus, basically.
Just that sentence just sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
she's a surrogate mother, but she has O'Brien and Keiko's baby.
So they had a second baby.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be on the lookout for that one. That sounds pretty weird. I mean, Deep Space Nine's had some pretty, like in the first couple seasons, there's been pretty weird episodes. Like I thought it was pretty cool. Like the one where these guys just show up and like put like Cisco and the Doctor and Dax and Kira in like a game, like a board game, and then Quark and Odo are like actually like playing to like make sure they don't die. I thought that was a pretty cool one. And then there's like the one where like people just kind of show up. There's like one guy who's like being hunted, but it's like he's willingly being hunted.
Mhm.
I can't remember what the species was, but that was a pretty good one. And there's some other ones too, you know, here and there that are, you know, pretty interesting, like kind of out of the norm storylines, but they're cool because like they're just strange, you know.
What's everyone's favorite episode of TNG, and why is it the episode where Picard becomes Locutus?
Dude, the Borg one, like the break in between seasons, I remember that in real time, like when I was a kid. That was a hard one to
Yeah.
get summer waiting. I mean, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, that was intense, man.
Yelled at the TV when it said "to be continued."
Yeah.
I like yelled, like I was I don't even remember how old I was at the time, but I'm pretty sure I yelled an expletive and got in trouble for it because I was like so upset that it's the reveal and then it's to be continued, and I was just like, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
remember
we don't
that
have
one.
that now anymore. Like most shows don't do cliffhangers at all.
Yeah, it's sort of funny, like
I mean, Game of Thrones is kind of like the last one when Ned Stark dies.
it's just kind of funny now that you think about it. Like that's like just an experience that's not really, a part of our culture anymore. It's like stuff just drops like on Netflix when there's like Netflix shows. Like it's like, oh, the whole season's right there,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
or like yeah, you just watching like you're just rewatching like Star Trek or whatever on all the way through. You don't have to wait for like like 9 months to get the next season or whatever. You can just oh, here it is. So there's that like and then like the whole like getting up to do things for commercials or whatever, or all that stuff. You don't have to account for that anymore. It's just it's kind of weird how much it alters the viewing experience of some of the serialized TV experiences.
Yeah, I agree. Like I was even getting annoyed, like, because the skip intro button didn't show up on Next Generation when I was watching it until like season 7. I'm like, really? I had to fast forward through like every one of these, and now you just put it on there like halfway through. But
Right.
Deep Space Nine has no skip intro button. I'm like, come on, guys, are you kidding me with this? Like, you can't just put it all on every show. Like, this has to be like a thing someone looks into. It's like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm really spoiled, but the Deep Space Nine theme song is pretty lacking compared to the Next Generation one, for sure. I
Well,
think.
the best one though is the Enterprise one.
God damn it. Don't fucking say that.
I have to listen to it because I don't even know what it sounds like. I'm just going
It's
off
the
what I know.
worst thing ever written.
It's really funny.
It was what was the name of the song? It was, I'm sure you know it, Jason. It's
Yeah, Jason, sing it. Come on.
yeah.
It's been a long time going from there to here.
Does it really have lyrics?
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's legit. Like who was the guy who did it? It was
It sounds like some like 80s like sitcom.
no,
Yes.
it literally is that. Yeah.
Wow.
It's like Greatest American Hero, but like the modern version of that theme song.
Nice.
Fuck the early 2000s. Oh, Captain Archer.
That was like from that era of television too, where they were constantly having like bands or like
it's
musicians do like the theme song and just for like recognition.
It's legit. Faith of the Heart from Rod Stewart is the Enterprise opening theme. I just had to Google it because it was gonna
Faith
bother
of
me.
the heart.
But that doesn't have anything to do with like Star Trek or anything. Like, it's just like
No, it just
Yeah.
it makes no sense. But it's just like I mean, it's Faith of the Heart from Rod Stewart. It's super corny, and it's just like I don't
Someone
know.
somewhere was like, "Hey, we have $50,000 extra in the budget. What song should we do?" And some nerd was just like, "I really love Rod Stewart."
I would say like someone's like, well, Queen already did a song for a show, so maybe we should like just find another British gentleman and get him to do it. And
But the Queen song's actually good.
yeah, it's good. Like I said, they all can't be winners, but yeah, the Deep Space Nine theme is a bit over long. It's pretty long and it's very boring. Like, it's like, oh. At least Next Generation, it's kind of exciting with the ship just going on different sides of the screen at you, and flashing names. But yeah, Deep Space Nine is pretty dull. That theme is very I don't know. It doesn't really get you excited to watch it. That's why I just skip it, because I'm just like, don't want to fall asleep or just be disappointed by this very mellow show.
I have a soft spot for it, but I think Voyager is the best intro.
I'll have to
For
check it
sure.
out. I'll listen to it. I don't know Voyager that good. I just know they had the 709, which is like the first Borg serving on Starfleet, and then the Black Vulcan, I think, was
Tuvok.
Voyager. Was that right?
Yeah, Tuvok's cool.
Yeah.
And Tuvix.
Mhm.
God damn it. Don't bring up Tuvix.
I think it was like Janeway's voice that like really I couldn't really get past Jane. She's kind of got this weird voice. I don't know. It's something about it. Just kind of, I don't know. It's just something. it just kind of gets on my nerves. But Cisco's delivery sometimes is kind of weird too. It's like very melodramatic at times, the way he like pronounces things or says like whole sentences or commands. But sometimes it's just like he's just talking normal. So I don't really know I don't know if that clears out after the first few seasons or not. But yeah, sometimes it's like, dude, what is this dude going for? It's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
I mean,
His
he's definitely
delivery.
still trying to find himself in the
I
first
think
couple
so. Yeah, the
seasons.
same way Picard did. Picard was like
Yeah.
kind of like very abrasive the first season or two also,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he mellowed out with the more Earl Grey that he had.
It's funny
Different.
because original series is kind of the opposite of those shows where the first season's the best season and it continually gets worse and worse because they got less and less budget.
There's only 2 seasons on original series.
3 seasons.
3 seasons, okay.
And then there's the animated series, which only has 1 season.
I remember watching it as a kid. I thought it was pretty awesome when I was
That was
young.
amazing.
Yeah.
It has some of the craziest plots possible.
Well, you get away with it in animation because it's like no one's taking this serious anyway. But they had the original cast voice all their characters again.
Exactly.
So, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
There's one episode where they go to the center of the galaxy and they meet up with Lucifer. And Lucifer helps them out. And there's a bunch of like pilgrims that are evil. It's just batshit crazy, dude. Batshit crazy.
Yeah, Next Generation got a little weird too. Like, I don't know if you guys are like really noticed, but like every once in a while they would like have like different genres of like stories thrown in. Like there was one where like Picard was basically like John McClane from Die Hard, like taking his ship back from like terrorists.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you remember that one or not. I picked up on that pretty quick when he came back to pick up his saddle, and like the whole ship was people were taking over the ship, and he was like taking them out one by one and shit. And I thought it was pretty funny. And then there was like a bunch of there was quite a few that were like horror elements in it, like the one where him and Data came back, and then everyone had like changed into like creatures that were like on their native planets. Like Riker was like pretty much like a caveman. Worf turned into some
like
beast
spider
on
beast.
Clonos.
Is
Just
that one
crazy
of
stuff
the?
like that,
Is that the Halloween episode? Because I do vaguely remember that one, and
Yeah.
it being like pretty scary, like for the time slot.
Yeah, I mean, like Troy was basically like a mermaid, kind of. She was like had to live in her bathtub, or she would die and like dry out and stuff. Just like all kinds of weird stuff. And then there was like some psychological horror ones they put in there with like Worf when he won the Batleth competition. And like every time he would like, look at his trophy, he would like finish lower and lower and lower. And he was always like pissed off because he's like, there's no way I'm like 9th place best Batleth fighter. This is crazy,
Yeah.
He's just mad about his trophy. And then the one where like Riker kept going back and forth in the insane asylum and between the
that one's fucked up.
doing the play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one too. That one was pretty unsettling because like, man, that's like some real stigma on mental health back in the early 90s. And so like just have it like front and center like that. I thought it was pretty cool watching it through the modern lens.
Yeah, that one really reminds me of like nightmares that I have, So yeah, really unsettling.
Yeah, it's a good one. And obviously like the tar monster who killed Yar, Tasha Yar. That was a good one. I think that one's still pretty good. I mean, it's cheesy, but the voice on that creature is really cool. I think the way they did it was really cool.
The voice is good. It just looks stupid. That's all.
Well, I mean, it's like 1987 special effects. I mean, you kind of
like a trash bag or something, wasn't it?
What was that?
Was it like a trash bag or something? I forget.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah, the time he they drag Riker in the tar, and then like it shows his face and it doesn't even look anything like Riker. I'm like, what was that? It's just like some mask they threw in there. But yeah, I mean, there's some really cool like genre mashing up too that they did, and then obviously with the Borg, it's like I think the Borg is like the ultimate sci-fi villain because it's so crazy that like it's almost like that now. I mean, like people are like, tied on their phones, just like walking around not paying attention to nothing, don't have a care in the world until you take their phone away, stuff like that. It's almost like it's like a foretelling of like society now with cell phones instead of wires attached to their head, stuff like that. And then the one where they find Hugh the Borg and just name him Hugh for some reason. It's like what a random name for like a dude, like we're gonna name you Hugh. And he's like, okay, that's cool. Then like they find him later on. He's like everyone else is a bunch of other Borg joined them and stuff. He's like Hugh the Master Borg and stuff like that. It's like pretty cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, I know I'm rambling on here, but like, what about like villains? Like, what do you think were the best villains in the show to you guys? I guess, or just anybody who won Federation really could say.
I mean, I think the best villains in TNG would be the Romulans.
Okay.
Especially early on, like season 3 and shit. I think the Borg were incredible back then, but when they tried to revisit the whole Borg situation in Voyager, it kind of like left a really bad taste in my mouth for the rest of my life because they just overdid it. They were like, "Oh, we'll have the Borg for like a season and a half."
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it was just after First Contact came out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, can we just stop this whole Borg business? But no, they had to fucking beat this fucking dead horse,
Did you watch Picard season 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I want. Ugh. No. Fuck.
Is there more Borg action in that one?
No, they go to the fucking 21st century and they're all wearing like normal ass clothes the whole fucking season. And it's just like this is so boring.
Right.
And the way it ends is just like, you guys just did not listen to the Prime Directive at all. This is so un-Picard.
That's funny. That's why I'm calling this episode the Prime Directive. Just FYI.
Cool beans.
Yeah, I planned on that yesterday actually. So yeah. So yeah, season 2 of Picard was like it was pretty bad. Like
especially the end.
I really didn't like the new characters at all. Like I couldn't stand any of them, and like having like the Doctor turn into like the Borg Queen, I was like, oh my god! I was like, this might be the most annoying species ever to exist in any time frame ever now because she sucks.
Yeah,
so it was just so boring and like just annoying, And then like the whole thing with Q is like, I really do like you, Picard. It's like, so you did all this to like tell Picard that you liked him. That was it. There was like, I don't know. It just seemed like the writers should have hired some TNG writers to at least help out, if nothing else. Like, I don't really think they got it, because the dialogue was all off too. It wasn't really sci-fi talk. It was like, I'm gonna kick your MF ass. It's like, well, they didn't say that in TNG. Why is this language being introduced now? It doesn't feel Star Trek at all. It feels modern, like it feels Marvel. Because like everyone has to be wittier than the next guy, and they just carry that on over to these new Star Trek series that I've watched, and it's just not the same. Yeah.
Everyone wants that Marvel money. They want that MCU money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how they do season 3 because I know everyone's coming back, so I'm gonna watch it for nostalgia purposes, but I really don't have any high hopes it's gonna be good. So.
Yeah, I really want to see grizzled Worf with white hair.
I am cool. Kind of partial to Fat Riker myself. Let's see if he can still swoon the ladies that big gut.
This is totally unrelated to Star Trek. Have you seen those videos from when he had his like TV show where they did he told the stories and then he would be like, that was fiction or that was real. There's some really funny YouTube clips of his show. I think, was it Ripley's Believe It or Not or something like that?
Yeah.
And someone basically took the reveals for all those and then other little clips and they slowed down his speech and they have it like labeled as like Jonathan Frakes talks to you at a bar while drunk, and he's just like, have you ever taken a shower? And it's just like the most asinine, ridiculous shit, but it's hilarious. Definitely worth a listen if you haven't seen it before.
I'll check it out. I don't remember that, but I didn't have cable until I was like 16 here because I live pretty. I live what they used to be considered the boonies. Now I have like the best, some of the best internet in the United States. So who go figure on that one? But for a while I just had like 4 channels, you know. So back when like the channels would actually turn off at like 3 o'clock in the morning and then turn back on at like 6. In those days, I don't know if you remember or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
that's when I was like, God damn it! Now I have to go to the bed.
Well, it's funny too.
Go
'Cause
ahead.
if you had cable back in the day, right? Then you get like all the ridiculous infomercials at like 4 in the morning,
Oh God, yeah.
and those were a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
that,
They still are to me. I still get a kick out of some of them. It's like, man, these people are like, it's like, what is like the, I can't think of one in particular, but like these people get these inventions and like makes their life better, and they're all like big smiles and stuff. And it's like they're always the same, like people like smiling about how this like this speaker can open up and hold like cookies or something like something ridiculous you really don't need, but like, man, they really sell that shit like it's the best thing ever.
Well,
my
yeah,
favorite,
Yeah.
my favorite are like the fail shots of people like trying to cut onions or whatever,
Yeah.
and they just look so just miserable.
Oh, like
Yeah.
they try to cut an onion in half and like they end up cutting like one slice off the like the round part or something.
Yeah.
Just like frustrated, like slam their knife down and disappointed. It's always in black and white,
Yeah.
at first, and then like their life gets better. It's in color.
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
there's a bunch of like there's compilations of those too that are really good on YouTube. Like there's like one of my favorites is like there's a guy sitting in like a recliner and he's got like a bowl of chips or whatever, and he just like knocks it over and it goes like flying across the room or whatever, and he's got like the most over exaggerated like look on his face or whatever.
Yeah.
And like there's other ones where like a lady's like pouring a glass of milk for her kid, and then she just like drops the milk and it like goes all over the table, and it's like stuff that no person that's actually like would ever do like in any way,
Unless
shape, or
you're
form.
wasted.
Well, yeah, but they're never showing the
You
people
just leave
as
it to the
waste.
next day if you're wasted though. You're like,
Yeah.
I'll get some more.
Yeah, but there's stuff like that, and then then you had like this whole thing where they just be like, there's like personalities that you'd see like repeatedly. Like I remember Ron Popeil, like the set it and forget it guy, with the rotisserie ovens or whatever that cooked everything. And you just see like every so often, like every several months, there'd be like a new show for like infomercial for him. And and so you just get used to seeing these people if you stayed up late. And it's just, there was all kinds of stuff like that you would catch, at like 4 in the morning on weekends.
When I got cable finally, it was like one of those big satellite dishes you have to move manually. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like like you guys had like move to a satellite G5, A1, blah, 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 blah. When I got that, I was up to like 4 or 5 in the morning, like catching up, like absorbing everything I've been missing. So like Headbangers Ball reruns, Beavis and Butthead, like I would just like take it all in because I really didn't know anything when I was like in high school about what the hell people were talking about. Like they'd be talking about these shows. I'm like, I have no clue. I need to know what this is, but I just have rabbit ears. So
Right.
finally, when I got to catch up, I was like, take it all in. It's like, oh, this band's called The Offspring. I think I need to buy their CD. And I bought it. I'm like, what the fuck? Why did I buy this? This sucks. It's like, if you're an Offspring fan, I do apologize. That's just my personal preference. I'm not. But yeah, just stuff like that. Like I was really like taking it all in. Just thought I had to be a part of everything, and that's how I discovered a lot of bands I like and dislike. Just buying CDs just because of MTV. It's like, well, that song was pretty good. The rest of the album should be pretty good. And then you buy an Offspring CD and you find out that's not such the case. But
when I go driving, I stay in my lane.
Well, they had the song in Crazy Taxi that was awesome.
I never played Crazy Taxi actually. People tell me it's really good.
It's a really fun game. But yeah, the whole soundtrack is like pop punk, but it's like it's like 1998's like greatest hits basically.
Gotcha. It's kind of like Tony Hawk in a way, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it's got like it's got the Offspring on there. It's got the song All I Want. and it's a bunch of other similar things. I might be remembering wrong, but I think that was like, stuff on like Blink 182 and stuff like that on there. But like, I mean, it was like all the fastest tracks because you're like, tearing ass in a taxi, like running
Sure.
people over and stuff or whatever. But
Speed
it's
was
a really
awesome.
fun game.
The Dreamcast classic.
Mhm.
Yeah. There was also an arcade machine for it too that was really fun.
Yeah.
That was
I remember the
definitely a
arcade
quarter
machine.
eater.
That's how I remember it. I didn't have a
Yeah.
Dreamcast. It was here and gone before I could like get my hands on one. So I never got to play one.
Oh yeah, Dreamcast was the first system I bought with my own money.
Mine was a PS1. I actually was
Nice.
working. I went after work one day and bought one. I've bought one of each one ever since, including my PS5 back there, which I never get to play because my kids won't let me. All right, guys. Well, let's see how long we've been going here. Oh,
A
about an
little
hour.
over an hour.
Yeah, so I'll do some. Let's do some like wrap up questions. Like these are just kind of dumb questions. Some of them music related though. So first off, what would your job be on the Enterprise 1701D? Let's be specific about that. Go ahead, Jason.
I would work. I'd be the bartender. I would work the days that Guinan need off.
Speaking of her, Whoopi Goldberg, she never showed up like the last season at all. I wonder what happened with that because she was a pretty semi-main character. I mean, at least recurring character.
She's not in the last episode at all.
I don't think so. No, the last episode was just kind of like Welcome to Farpoint, but like in 3 different time zones or time areas or timelines, I should say.
I mean, maybe they didn't have the budget for her anymore. They were like, let's just focus on having really good looking episodes instead of shelling out this amount of money to Guinan. I don't know.
Maybe. How about you, Rob? What would your job be on the?
I would definitely be like O'Brien's like gopher, probably. Like you'd be fixing something and be like, I'd be his subordinate because I wouldn't be able to fix the stuff himself, but they'd be like,
so you're Barkley?
Yeah, I would basically be Barkley, unfortunately. Barkley with hair.
Gotcha. How about you, Leona? What would yours be?
I think I'd probably just be like, somebody behind the scenes in like engineering or something like that. Just like one of those random like like suits like in the back of shots or something like that, Nobody too important.
Do you remember when Ashley Judd showed up for like 2 episodes and she was in engineering?
Oh,
one of them.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, one of them she was in was the one where Riker is on that planet and that girl like gives them that game, which is like a drug. So kind of like I don't even know how you describe it to today's narcotics. Some kind of, I guess, like party drug in a way, and like he got like the whole ship addicted except for like Wesley and her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
In other words, Leona and I would be the people when they cut to the scene of like engineering blowing up and like people like getting launched over like the consoles and stuff. Or falling into the warp core. That would be us.
Okay. And so you'd be like a red shirt basically.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Okay.
No, but in that time it's yellow shirts.
I see. Well, I would probably just be I don't really know what my skill set would be. I probably just sit around and 10 forward and just get soused, I guess. I don't know. It seems like a very legit job description in that show because usually the same people are always in 10 forward every time they go there. So
hey, I would be pouring you that synthahol.
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? Be like when Scotty was in there and they gave him that fake whiskey and he's like, what is this? This is bad. I was like, yeah, I know, but it's all we got. So
my favorite is when Data gives him the bottle of actual alcohol.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he's like, what is it? And Data goes, it's green. And it's a joke based on an original episode where someone asks Scotty, what is it? And he goes, ugh, it's green.
It's been a while since I've watched the original series. I need to go back. I usually watch that every like 10 years anyway. So me and my dad used to watch it pretty religiously. So sometimes when I like get nostalgic about him being gone, I'll go back and watch TOS just because I remember some of the stuff. Being with him watching it, I can go back and relive those memories and stuff.
Mhm.
Because also they showed a lot of TOS like on the local Fox channel, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you get home from school, nothing on TV except for TOS. Like, I know what I'm watching, again.
Oh yeah, every day for me when I'd get off school, it was 5 o'clock original series, 6 o'clock Next Generation.
Nice. And then like 11 or 12 o'clock Deep Space Nine for me. They never
Right.
showed them back to back for whatever reason. So what who do you think was more annoying child on the Enterprise, Wesley or Alexander?
Nowadays I have to say Alexander.
Okay.
I think that I definitely I mean I think Wesley, like people that are probably a little bit older than all of us probably hate Wesley a lot more. But Wesley was like, at the time I didn't see anything really wrong with him, but I was also like young. So I would probably also say Alexander too. So
Yeah, he's pretty annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just I would yeah, I think there's like a consensus here.
Alexander for the win. All right.
God, when Alexander's a teenager in Deep Space Nine, oh
Oh, he shows up in Deep Space Nine too.
God,
Okay,
yeah.
I got something to look forward to, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Can't wait. Do you remember the one where Alexander shows up, his future self shows up to teach his younger self to be a warrior instead of a diplomat?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one too.
I also didn't realize that there's like 4 different actors that played Alexander.
Over different time periods, I guess.
Yeah. Because I guess Klingon children age faster than human children.
I don't really know. They might explain it later on, but I don't really know for sure.
I didn't know that until like recently. I was like,
Okay.
whoa, okay, now I know.
Did you read a lot of like extended universe stuff, like Klingon related?
I read the book called Kalis.
Okay.
And the whole Kalis thing is obviously our big inspiration for this whole EP.
Yeah.
And then I read some of the like Shatner written ones because those ones are ridiculous, and I love William Shatner.
Like his movie with so was that episode 5. That was pretty bad.
Yeah. What does God need with a starship?
Me and my dad went to go see that at the Merriman Twin. I remember it. We were so excited. It was so bad, but episode 6 more than made up for it. So there's always that.
6 is one of my favorite movies of all
2
time.
and 6 are really good. There's director's cuts for both of them, and the guy who did both of those movies is actually doing a Wrath of Khan prequel audio book or like podcast episode style that he's writing. So I'm not sure when that's supposed to be out, but I'm pretty stoked about that. That could be pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
If the voice acting is captivating enough. I know no more than Ricardo Montalban, but it is what it is.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yes. So what food do you think the replicator could probably never make right?
I'm trying to think of like the most complicated dish possible.
Probably be something with like very strong flavor and a very unique texture. So like something with like duck foam or something like that in it, or some weird,
there you go,
like crazy, ridiculous thing that needs to be consumed in a very like small period of time.
Gotcha.
After it's been prepared. That would be my guess, but man, the replicator is freaking cool.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. Like, especially when Troy just goes in, like, just give me some chocolate ice cream. Like, that would be pretty damn nice. Cold already, So probably not melted or just slightly melted. I would order it slightly melted. That's the best way to eat ice cream.
I'd say like a complicated pasta that has like, like white wine and shrimp and.
Oh, gosh, like a chicken cacciatore or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Rob? What do you think would be the most complicated food to make for the replicator?
I still think like something really complex and bizarre, like with weird flavors. And honestly, like just looking at like, I'm sure that there's probably some sort of like raw thing, like some sort of like raw sushi. I could see being like pretty
like sushi or like escargot or something like that, where it's essentially just a creature,
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like escargot would probably, yeah. I don't even like escargot, but
Yeah, you'd think it would have to be something that's cooked, not fresh and raw.
yeah,
Like you're saying.
yes.
All you gotta do is just enter it into a database somehow. I guess you scan it or they replicate it, they take it apart or something, and that's how it's supposedly how the replicator makes the food. Because a lot of times people order stuff like from other planets or whatever, and it's like not found in the database. So,
What about you, Leona?
Oh yeah, like I said, like escargot or something, or maybe like some like really like specific like maybe it could, I don't know, like something like some specific like alcohol that's like been aged in like a barrel for 30 years or something, like some kind of whiskey or something like that,
some
maybe.
ramen and ale, maybe perhaps.
Yeah, maybe something like that would be my guess, because it's like I said, I think that like with like say something like an escargot would be like it's like basically a snail, whereas like with the whiskey there's the whole chemical process, and that I guess in theory it would probably be doable, but like it seems like it would be kind of hard to replicate the process of like a chemical like a chemical process from like the fermentation, and then like the the process that goes on from like aging in like an oak barrel or something like that would be hard to replicate.
Yeah,
I think the aromas would be off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go something easy. I'm just gonna go barbecue, because everyone has their own way of doing it, and some of it's smoked for a week, some of it's smoked for a day. So you have to be really specific on what you wanted, to get the exact flavor. So that would be my pick.
There's the pitch for Picard season 3 right there.
There you go out to find the perfect barbecue to put in a food replicator.
Yeah.
I'd watch it. That would make more sense than probably bringing back Khan again, which I think that's what they alluded to in the end of the season 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Like what do you call it? Like what was it? Dives, drive-ins, and like replicators.
Yeah, that's good. We could get like O'Brien to like host it or something. He like stops by people's quarters and then tries their food out or something,
Grumpy O'Brien.
The seasoning's off.
Yeah.
It'd just be
Yeah, that's a good one. Why do you think they never caught the mistake in the intro, going out to find new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one's gone before, when they always find people who have been out in space for a long time? Has anybody ever picked that up? Like the one when they find the Native Americans out
God
in
damn it.
space?
I hate that one.
That's the one where Wesley joins the timekeepers or whatever it is.
I was like, good riddance.
Yeah. I was kind of funny that they always just find these people who have apparently been there way before they made it to that planet. So to boldly go where no one's gone before is kind of getting
a pretty arrogant statement when you think
it's
about
getting
it.
funny. Like
Right.
season 6, like damn, everyone's been here already. What are you talking about? No one's been here before. They've already left. They've gone somewhere else. So
I never thought about that.
yeah, it was like pretty much there's an episode where they find this like farming colony like way out, and that's the one where like Riker like has the farmer's daughter in his quarters within like 10 minutes washing her feet.
Classic Riker.
Yeah, stuff like that. So I always thought that was kind of like, after about season 6, I'm like, what the hell? What are they talking about when no one's been before? It's like people have been out all over this place, apparently. Maybe the Federation is a little late to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. What species do you think would make the best metal bands?
I gotta go with like Klingon on this one, because if you hear some of that Klingon opera, it's already like really like fucked up sounding and like dissonant and all that stuff. So like I think that would kind of lend itself well to something angry and aggressive.
Do you think they would approve of your EP?
Oh yeah. Except they'd be like, why is it not in Klingon?
Yeah, we could have gone the next step forward and got the whole thing translated.
I was gonna ask if any of you guys knew any Klingon phrases or anything to throw in that EP.
I know a couple words.
Nice.
I can tell you that the word time is pull.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. You learn something new every day. I don't have a Rosetta Stone clean on installed on my phone, so
You can
don't have
actually you can get it on I think they have it on what's the
Duolingo.
Duolingo, yeah. You can set it up so you can have your Esperanto and your your Klingon and stuff like that. So you can have all
Oh,
the
nice.
manufactured languages,
yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Has anyone ever seen the William Shatner movie in Esperanto called Incubus?
No.
No.
It's incredible.
Incredibly bad.
Incredibly,
Or
like,
incredible.
yeah.
series?
It's funny
Exactly.
because it's actually a good movie.
Okay.
But it's
How old is it?
hilarious. It's like 1971 or back when Esperanto was a fucking thing, like but it's really hilarious because the whole time you just can't take him seriously because it's William Shatner,
Sure. Yeah.
and he's speaking Esperanto. So
That great overacting of his that you just can't unsee once you've seen it.
his best movie is Kingdom of the Spiders, by the way.
That's a pretty good one. I've seen that. And his Twilight Zone episode is really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, before he was Kirk. The one he said on the plane.
There's something on the wing.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
A lot of practice.
Let's see. I got an order here. Let's see. Oh, so what about you, Rob? What species would make the best metal bands?
I feel like if we're looking for like some super savage, like aggressive, like death metal or thrash metal, certainly Klingons. I think I could see like some Vulcan, like neoclassical, like power metal stuff, probably like coming across as just like absolutely like musically masturbatory, but like working. But probably the Klingons. I agree. I mean, they're pretty angry.
Right.
Romulan black metal.
Oh yes, Romulan
Romulan
black
black-
metal.
And then Borg would be like industrial.
Some EDM.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the Borg probably EDM. The Cardassians might do okay. It might just be like some more like hardcore, like Hate British or something like that,
I mean, the
they got some-
Cardassians kind of look like members of Dimmu Borgir without corpse paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a good point. I think that would probably be
If anybody knows how to make memes, if you make Cardassian corpse paint, dude, that might look pretty fucking cool, actually.
I think
You have your homework.
Bajorans would definitely do power metal.
Oh yeah, that no question.
Yeah, I think so too. And the Ferengis, I guess they would just, I don't know what the Ferengis would be. They'd probably just be like pop punk or something. I don't know.
No, they would just capitalize off all the other species that are making.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they would be the tribute bands of the.
They would be the ones running Spotify for
Yeah.
the future.
Right, yeah.
They'd be the ones running Knotfest.
All right. Next question. What band and what area would you like to go see in the holodeck?
Oh, I would watch Judas Priest Defenders of the Faith tour.
Nice.
That's my favorite set list.
What about you, Rob? Who would you see in what era?
I would definitely go see like some very, very like classic hella fucked up era Van Halen, like when they were just like packed houses and just like going off, the musicianship's off the rails, like by the band, and David Lee Roth is just like 8 sheets to the wind, like yelling random stuff. Like, so the classic like early 80s era, late 70s, like that would be really fun to see, I think.
So when they're in arenas versus clubs.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I probably seeing them in a club would be amazing as well.
Yeah,
I would for that. Van Halen opening up for Sabbath in like 80.
Oh, that would be fun.
That was always a weird tour pairing to me when I read that actually was a thing. I was like, man, that's like so oil and water, But whatever. I guess whatever worked. But I've heard that tour wasn't like Sabbath's best show compared to Van Halen.
Yeah, Van Halen blew them out of the water.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, it's just all energy versus all doom. But yeah, it's just a weird tour pairing to me when I read that. How about you, Leona? Who would you go see?
I was just thinking about this, and I think probably it would be cool to check out the last tour of Thin Lizzy when they had John Sykes on guitar and they were touring on Thunder and Lightning.
Yeah.
Like that
yeah.
era.
Yeah,
That would be really cool.
that's pretty really unspoken of, actually. So
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of like, John Sykes 80s stuff with like, there's that, then there's, the White Snake album he did, and then
Sure.
subsequently Blue Murder, and then like all the albums he did that got big in Japan but never in the US. All that stuff is really cool. And I think that he was really underrated with that. But like even amongst like people that are really in the Thin Lizzy, like they kind of everybody's all like, oh, like Jailbreak and like the subsequent couple of albums after that. But like I really think that Thunder and Lightning was like their like peak, it was like when they were arguably the most metal,
right.
So you get songs like that, like Cold Sweat and stuff like that, and it'd be really cool to see that like live with the original line, or even if you wanted to had the option to check out like the 90s reincarnation where John Sykes did singing. It was basically the classic lineup or the Thunder and Lightning lineup with but with Marco Mendoza on bass instead of Phil Lynott, obviously.
Right.
But otherwise it was that lineup of the band. So yeah, that would probably be the other option.
That's
So,
cool. Yeah, that's pretty. Like I say, that's not really spoken about too much. So yeah, that's a good one. I don't know. I have a hard time. I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't know if I'd go. I don't know if I would go Let There Be Rock era AC/DC, or maybe Injustice Metallica, possibly, or Dio with Rainbow. I don't know. If I had to pick one,
Dio
I'd
with
go
Rainbow
Dio
would be
with
cool.
Rainbow.
Yeah.
I never sell Dio. I'll sell Rainbow. So I have no reference to how awesome those bands were live in person. But I've seen Metallica and AC/DC. So
It was what was it? I caught Dio in the 2004 tour that he did, and it was cool because he played a bunch of Rainbow songs. Like he played Gates of Babylon on that tour.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Dio albums with Rainbow, man, are some of my favorites. I listen to that all the time. Gates of Babylon's good. Obviously, Stargazer, Kill the King. I mean, a bunch of other ones I can't think of right now. But yeah, they're all really great.
There's also the really cool like the live on stage version of Still I'm Sad where Dio sings with it, as opposed to it being the album version where it's just an instrumental, but the version where Dio sings on it is really cool.
And then the best part too, if you're seeing it on the holodeck and you can just basically go wherever you want. You can be on stage watching if you wanted.
Yeah.
One of the other cool things too, now that we're talking about like, obscure like Dio era stuff, it'd be cool to see like right before he joined, before they did Rainbow, before like Richie Blackmore like co-opted Elf and turned it into Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
You can get like live MP3s of this, or like the live album, I think, or it might be out on album now, but it was definitely a bootleg before that, where they had like live shows where Dio played bass and sang, and they actually do War Pigs from Sabbath with Dio playing bass and singing.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
I never even heard of that. Is that really a thing?
Yeah, check it out. It's there. I think it's wait, I have the internet right here. I can just look it up real quick.
Yeah, this is the closest I have to anything Rainbow with Dio. Is this Live in Munich DVD?
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah,
That is a good one.
Yeah, there's a what do you call it? Yeah, there's a bootleg release from Elf called War Pigs 72, and it has a bunch of cover songs on there. It's like there's some studio recordings, and then there's a live set from Cortland, New York in 1972 where it's a bunch of covers. There's Cross-Eyed Mary from Jethro Tull, Johnny B. Good, Black Dog, other stuff. But
Johnny B. Good.
But the real takeaway from all that is the War Pigs cover, just because it's kind of cool to hear, Dio, one, play bass, and then two, doing that in 1972, 8 years or whatever before he joined Sabbath,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know. I mean, I know he played bass in Elf. So
yeah.
I didn't know he played to an extent that Geezer Butler could.
He didn't like do as much of the stuff that Geezer did,
Not as many fills and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. But it's still cool to hear. It's, because I don't think that like past that point, I don't think there's really any recordings of him doing anything other than singing. Like, I know that he did the keyboard parts on like Rainbow in the Dark and stuff before they got Claude Schnell on the, you know, subsequent albums or whatever. But like, I don't think aside from that, like I can think of too many other, you know, things where he actually, you know, played an instrument on a record or whatever, you know.
Right. Well, cool. If you guys could put your band on a holodeck, would you play with safety protocols on or off?
Off, baby. Live on the edge.
Yes.
Yeah.
That random stage diver might knock over you, might hit you or something.
That's a good question, though.
How about you, Rob?
Oh, you have to run off, you know.
Yeah.
You
just have to.
can't. Yeah, you got to have the edge of like,
Yeah, when
you know,
everything's kind of artificially done for you, you have to have that edge, like that human, like what if moment, you know?
I want to be hit in the face with a beer can, you know.
Yeah. Or random beer spilled on you somehow from 30 feet away.
Exactly.
Is it really the live experience if like your amp doesn't like fuck up in the middle of a song, or you know, or like if
you get accidentally unplugged.
Right, or like, you know, somebody bumps the headstock on your guitar and it fucking goes way out of tune or whatever, you know, anything like that.
Or a string pops out, or nut.
Right, exactly. You gotta have that
top or something at the bottom. Yeah.
Right, you gotta have that, you know, that you know.
What if?
Yeah.
What kind of show would you guys
STDs.
What kind of show would you guys do? Like, would you do like a really rowdy club show? Would you do like an arena show? They can only see like the first 3 rows anyway, or what would you guys simulate in the holodeck?
Arena show would be cool because I haven't done one of those.
Yeah, I haven't either. So
I mean, I feel like the best Skeletor shows for us, in terms of like if you really connect with the crowd, so like a rowdy club show where it's up close and personal, I think that would be a lot of fun. Obviously playing in like a arena with like, you know, what, 17,000 people watching would be awesome.
Right.
But you know, getting that up close and personal connection, I think would be a lot of fun, even though it's a holodeck. You know what? Fuck it. It's the holodeck. We're going to play fucking, what is it? Budokan or whatever, you know? That'll be Jason's Budokan set.
yeah.
Hammersmith Odium.
Yeah. It's a
So
holodeck. Fuck it.
Would you just do the classic arenas, the historic ones, Jason? Just play those?
I mean, I agree with the more intimate shows are incredible, but you know, if we're on the holodeck, might as well have this like
You can always mix it
ridiculous
up.
experience.
I mean, you
know?
could go on tour. The holodeck.
Yeah.
Like say like I want
Oh,
like, you know, 200 date tour, world tour. I'll be here every day. Just have my shit set up waiting for me. You know.
Yeah, can
Yeah.
you imagine having the what do you call it, the 200 date tour, and having it being like the part where you're in the van for like 12 hours and you're just sitting there and you gotta like, you know, like pee in a jug or whatever, and, you know.
All the horrid smells of like
Yeah.
a bunch of people that have been on the road for like half a year and stink, eating shitty
Yeah.
food.
Yeah, there's the real test. You're talking about like the you know, like replicators and scents and stuff like that. see if the holodeck can emulate that.
Yeah.
And then
It might be able to.
Synthahol,
They can simulate a mud bath. So
Synthahol malt liquor.
yeah, that'd be great. You know, I was thinking it'd be cool is if there was actually like a touring band on the Enterprise and like they could just like beam their stuff down to like the stage and like just beam it back up and like your drums are intact, you know, your amp, you don't have to touch your amp.
You don't have to worry about loading.
Yeah, you just load it
Yeah,
up.
there you go.
You just put it on the transporter. Hey, O'Brien, beam down to the stage. Here's my plot, stage plot. You know,
And you could just
Down.
have your
there you
you
go.
have your you could have your equipment in the transporter buffer, so you don't even have to set it up.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
on the
Like
ship.
you can just tell them to transport it from like wherever you store your band stuff, like on the cargo decks, and they can just beam it down to the club on the planet you're playing. And you know, after you're done, you beam up and go on to the next one.
Well,
Yeah.
then there's
It's
the
kinda cool.
there's also the logistics of that. Like, I mean, like they talk, you know, briefly, and I think it's Deep Space Nine about like people using the teleporters on, you know, Earth and stuff for just regular transportation. I mean, just the logistics of a world tour would be you could go home every night after that.
Oh, it'd be
you know?
great. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I
God
mean,
damn.
it'd be really cool. Like I could spend time with my family and be like, hey, I'm out for like 3 hours. I'll be back. And
Yeah, exactly.
go play and come back and be in my own
I
bed.
mean, would you even really need to tour? You could just be like, everyone beam into this location, boom.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you wouldn't have the concept of a tour. It's just okay, we're gonna punch in, tonight, and we're gonna go to, wherever, wherever it might be,
Yeah.
If you can make it easy as you want for people, they'll still find a way to be lazy. It won't change anything. You have to go to them.
True.
It's
True.
the way it is. I've learned
Oh
that being a local
God.
band. Nobody comes to you unless they're there. Or you can get on with a bigger band that they'll come to see. It's tough out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right, guys. Well, that is pretty much it. I'm gonna keep it too long. I'm not gonna go on forever about other random things, but we'll try to stick in the Star Trek TNG universe. I know we veered out a lot, got a little crazy with infomercial talk and whatnot. But,
Well, that's what makes it interesting, though, is like you have the starting point, and then you have where you go from there. Is how you tie, and how you tie it all back together, right?
I don't really structure much. I mean, this is my notes. I mean, I really don't.
Right.
I just kind of like off the cuff. A few things I want to make sure I ask, and the rest is like wherever it takes me, that's where I go.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Well, the band is Skeletor from Seattle. They released a new EP. You should pick up. Do you have physical copies of it, or is it just digital right now?
We have both. We have it on vinyl, and then we also have the, you can just get the MP3s from the Bandcamp. I think it's on Spotify too. So.
Hold on a minute. Do you have any like special like colored vinyl or anything, or is it just black?
We just
Just
have
black.
we just have the black one right now. Yeah.
But I'd say
order-
buying it on Bandcamp helps us out the most.
Yeah, I'm actually, when I get done, I'm gonna order it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Many thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And then so you guys have been in bands like what, 2007 or 8, I think, what Mark said.
Our first band practice was in 1999.
Oh, 1989. Wow.
Yeah.
They're gonna
First
take time
album though was like about that 2007, right, Jason?
Yeah, the re-recording of our demo, which turned into an album, was released in 2008.
That's mostly where I got 2008 from. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys have been around a while. So yeah, congratulations on that, man. That's tough out there. I've been in my band for like since 2007. Still doing what we can,
Still
Yeah.
grinding, right?
Yeah, I mean that's all you can do. It's like,
Yep.
release an album, hope for the best, see what happens.
Mhm.
On to the next. So like to me, like every show is kind of like what if, like you really want to play just to see like what could happen, like who might be there. Stuff like that. So it's always like kind of the thrill of the unknown. But I'd say about half of them are pretty much as you expect to go. It's just like, nobody comes out. Everyone goes out to smoke cigarettes. And then, you're the last band playing. For some reason, you have nobody watching you after 4 songs. It's like, the last band playing curse. I don't know if that's over in Seattle or not, but it happens to hear a lot.
It's
Mhm.
everywhere, dude.
Yeah.
Then there's also the all the other stuff that goes along with it, like, hey, can I borrow your amp?
Yep.
Yeah. We're pretty good. We've only had one amp not work. We had to borrow an amp, but he was a DI guy, so we had to like plug into the DI. So we really never got the sound right that we wanted, but we made it through. So it happens. Part of the thrill.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, cool guys, I appreciate it coming on. And like I said, if you're into clean on lore, this album could be for you. It's very specific with the battle of Kalos and his brother for 12 days and nights, drinking some blood wine, stuff like that. So awesome guitar harmonies in this stuff, guys. And also let me commend the bass for actually being on the top. It sounds really good.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not overpowering, but you can hum along to it. And our rule of thumb is if you can hum to the bass, then the bass can be heard. So
Mhm.
just make sure
Yeah.
it's hummable, and because everyone hums the bass line, nobody hums drums.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Well, you do it all.
Yeah, you do the guitars, bass, drums, and vocals.
Well, I play drums in my band, but I'm a big fan of all instrumentation, probably because I'm a drummer and I can't do it anyway. I picked the instrument with the biggest surface area so I don't miss. That was me. I'm that guy. Next would have been bass just because the strings are bigger. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, especially if you start down tuning, then you get into them like, the really big strings, like the 140, 145 and stuff when you're like tuning down to A or whatever,
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys tune to?
It's
It's
the
dicey.
guitars are tuned down a full step, so
Okay.
D standard.
That's what we're
But I play like 5 and 6 string basses, so all my basses are tuned in standard tuning. I transpose everything down 2
I
frets.
got you. No, actually, we're in C standard. Sorry, I'm like say I'm a drummer. I pay attention to these things, but sometimes I just forget.
So yeah, like guitars down a full step, bass standard tuning. So if Leona can't look at us and we can't look at Leona for like visual reference of where the note is.
Oh, so you guys play on the edge then, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you know the parts, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How long have you been in the band for, Leona?
About 2 years, about 2.5 years now, I think.
Okay.
So I joined at the beginning of what do you call it? Like kind of like towards the beginning. Like there was a thing during the beginning of the pandemic, where the previous bass player was gonna focus on his band, and me and Jason are friends, and so it was just kind of like, hey, you seem like you'd be the person for the job or whatever. And I had not been in the band for like an actual in-person band for about a year and a half at that point. And, so I agreed to do it, but it was funny because the way things were going with COVID, I didn't actually like practice with them until like October of 2020. And then, we were working on band stuff for a few months, and then COVID picked back up, and then, we got back together after that. And, so there's like this tumult with like, it is funny because so I've been in the band for like 2 years. We've done a bunch of practices and stuff like that. But the first time I actually played live with the band was like 3 or 4 months ago. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we just kept practicing like through computers. Like we just wrote songs, like send riffs back and forth. And I got an electric drum kit. I can send ideas. I mean, obviously it's not the best one, so we didn't use any of the sounds off the electric drum kit, but we just demoed with it and stuff. So yeah, we wrote our last album and stuff and got it.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely that's the thing we did with the CP was we did a lot of it, and like I recorded all the bass parts sitting right here, and I think with the guitars everybody did theirs at home too, and we have our practice space and we did the drums and vocals there, and so that was
Yeah, we started writing we were approaching, we want to do this EP, and then we had like one song about halfway done right as the pandemic hit, and then we were just basically like your band, Jason, all virtual, like for 6-7 months straight, just sending ideas back and forth, writing the songs through email, through internet, and then we were able to get in and practice for I think it was about a month or two, and then COVID got much worse in our neck of the woods. And just because members' jobs, etc., there's high levels of exposure. I mean, I work in medical, and the drummer works in social work, so he's with the public a lot. And then some members had some health stuff, etc. So like we were really kind of, everything was all a lot of distance, sharing things back and forth, writing that way, which was a really interesting process that we hadn't really explored with the band before. Most of our stuff historically had been just jams in the room, like someone brings in, Jason would bring in an idea, and like he did a little bit earlier, would kind of vocalize, oh, here's the guitar riff idea that I have, and this is the drum thing I have, and then we would kind of hash it out that way. But we ended up doing everything kind of the same way, like emailing files back and forth. We tried using this like jam software with varying degrees of success, where we were doing it over the internet, jamming live, and it worked sometimes, but like the moment you had more than 2 people, it was like disaster zone. So
it seems like the lag would be the main thing for me, especially drums. Like I would probably be ahead or behind.
Yeah.
Like at all times,
The lag was the thing, and then there was like at one point too where we had like this room and we were all in there, and then like some rando just came in and was like, "Hey, what's up, y'all?" And we're just like,
Yeah, one of the software we used didn't have like private rooms, So you had to like have like a public room, and just anyone could come in, and like random people would come in, and like one guy, I can't remember if he actually was playing the flute or something, but he just like started like doing crap, and it's just like it is what it is, and we had to make do with what we had at the time. But after things started tapering down, and we were able to jam a little bit more, and we kind of finished up the songs, and recorded over the kind of the tail end of the pandemic. The album had been done since October, right, of last year.
November. We had, I think we had it finished being mastered in the middle of November last year is what it was. And then we sent it to the label at that point. And after that, like, I guess there was issues with the logistical issues with the record pressing.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be out in March, and then it was supposed to be out in like July.
April, and then July, and then
and that's beyond everybody's control and everything. So I'm not like saying that as like, oh, they like screwed us up. It was nothing like that. It was just like, it is what it is with all the shipping delays. And they looked into seeing if they could press it in another record plant, and they heard like mixed reviews from that. So they just rather waited to do it right the first time from the plant that they use normally, and stuff like that. So
and then the crazy thing that we heard too was that there's been such an increase in demand for mainstream artists producing vinyl and people buying that.
Yeah.
So like Taylor Swift or whoever puts out this new album, and they order 1 million copies on vinyl or something like that, and it just takes up all the pressing plants for months.
Yeah, I've gone about this tirade about this. It's like Walmart selling records. It's like, well, there's only so many vinyl beads out there, and when Walmart's ordering records by like the millions to distribute between all their stores, and the shit pretty much just sits there because really people don't buy vinyl that go to the shop for vinyl at Walmart per se.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't buy any vinyl from Walmart because like when people look, they just bend it back, because the Walmart puts it like way up high. We have like get on your tippy toes to look at the back, and like when you're looking, you're just like bending the one in front, like down, and they're all bent, and all their jackets are all have marks on them where they've been bent and bent back and have a crease in them and stuff. But for whatever reason, Walmart thinks they need to sell vinyl. I don't know. It gets on my nerves because like these Metallica ones that they get. If you send that to like a mom and pop record store, like that would like increase traffic so much. But for some reason, Walmart just decides like we're just gonna throw all this money at it just to get this blue version of Saint Anger or something, and it's like, why? Why do you care so much? Like, why would you help the little guys out? Because vinyl is a very niche product. Like, I don't see record stores moving on their turf selling, like Swiffer mop heads or like 5 gallons of vinegar or something. So like, I don't understand what the deed is for Walmart to sell vinyl records. But
well, it's interesting though, because I just saw a thing recently where vinyl had outpaced CD sales for the first time since the mid 80s this past 2 years. So I think it's just that it's like, well, if we're going to have physical media, the only way to make money off of it is to sell vinyl. So
yeah, I mean, does anybody really need the 70th pressing of Rumors? Just like, doesn't everybody have that album already have it? We need to keep making that new for people. It's like,
and that's the funny thing.
You can't find that used anywhere. If you go on, enough of this.
And that's the funny thing too, is like, there's like a big market for reissues and stuff like that. But then like you see stuff, not even just reissues, but like just new pressings, like with going back to Metallica with like the Black Album, it continues to sell thousands and thousands of copies weekly. 30 years later. So they're, continuing to press it. It's still in print. Like it's still the first run. So there's stuff like that. But then even when you see it with like, I saw that they're going to be reissuing deluxe editions of Mob Rules in Heaven and Hell, from Sabbath. And like, I was like I saw the Dio Facebook page shared it today. And I was like, well, that's weird. They make it sound like it's this big event or whatever. I'm like, well, I have my deluxe edition from 2008 with the copy of the Hammersmith album on it too. And it's just like, but like they're continuing to hype that up as, oh, we're deluxe editions now, and then the 2022 remaster.
I saw something about it too, but I already have them. They have like the bonus tracks and stuff on disc too. Are they
Yeah.
reissuing those that were just like dealt out like about 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I think I'm not sure what the bonus tracks are, but I know what they did with Mob Rules specifically because I bought that album like 5 times, I think, at this point, because it's like one of my favorite albums. They there was like the initial CD run, then there was a remaster from Castle or something like that in like the mid 90s. And then there was a remaster in the early 2000s. And then in 2008, 2009, they started doing those deluxe editions. And that's where they have the version that comes with, it's a 2-disc version, and it comes with the heavy metal soundtrack version of Mob Rules. And then in addition to that, it's got the Live at the Hammersmith CD, which is noteworthy because Rhino did the Live at the Hammersmith album, and if you want to buy the CD version of that, it's like $200 or $300 now. But it was just a pack-in with Mob Rules, right? And then I guess maybe to keep that exclusive or whatever, when they reissued it, they just changed to a bunch of like West Coast tour dates on the subsequent issue of Mob Rules for the bonus tracks. And they split the concert across the remainder of the first disc and the second disc. So you can't even listen to the whole show in one sitting. You actually have to flip the discs or whatever, unless you rip it to MP3 or whatever. But, and I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that the new version of it is the exact same second set of bonus tracks.
Okay. Maybe, like I say, I have Heaven and Hell. I don't have the Mob Rules special edition.
Yeah, the one they get is the initial pressing with the Live at the Hammersmith version as the second pack-in disc, because that's like the best one.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for it. I might look on Discogs to see what they're floating around for. Probably a lot.
I'm not sure. Like I bought mine after the Hammersmith CD came out, and it was still like, I think I paid like $15 for it in like 2010 or 2012 or something like that.
I have like a bunch of vinyl that I'm not even listened to before yet, because like I buy something else, like I'm gonna listen to this when I get home, and then like for whatever reason I just don't get around to it. So I have like all these vinyls, like I've opened them up and checked them out, but I've never listened to them. Like I need to get on that, but I don't know. It's just like it's time consuming because I play it loud, always, you know. But when my kids are home, I can't play that loud, you know.
Right.
I tried the first Black Sabbath album with my son, and it scared the shit out of him. Like I literally like waited for like the music to start, and his eyes told me all I need to know. You need to turn this down because I can't even process what's going on right now. So
yeah, it's funny too with the vinyl thing. I think that amongst the band, I don't know, Jason, if you have yours set up, but I know that Pat's got a setup, but I don't have a vinyl player at all. It's funny. I actually got, you can see right there, there's like a Running Wild album. And then like over there behind my cat, I have like the special edition, like the most recent Carcass record and stuff like that. But like, I primarily get CDs, so I don't actually have a physical record player. So I'm like a poser on that front, but like, oh, and you can see the new Skeletor EP right there behind the stuffed cat.
nice.
But yeah, so it was like, well, who's listened to the vinyl yet to make sure it sounds good? We had to like rely on Pat to be like, oh yeah, it's cool, you know.
That looks like it's going to be a 12-inch vinyl, huh?
It is, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Our the EP we put out before this new album, we put it on vinyl. It's a 7-inch, but it's only 2 songs. So
yeah, with ours, it's a 12-inch, but it's the same songs on both sides. So
oh, you just put the album on there twice?
Yeah, because it's only 22 minutes, so it's like
how much was it to like etch the other side? Was it like expensive, or did you look into it?
The label,
that's up to the label.
Yeah, the label's decision for that. Jason was pretty insistent about having it be just a singular experience versus having to like get up and flip it halfway through. It would have been a little jarring with just 4 songs.
The only reason I was wondering is because like a lot of bands, like if they have like a double album but they only have like sides A, B, and C, they'll etch something on like the back of like the side D. Which like like a batleth or something on the back of that would have been fucking awesome, man.
That would be the ideal way to do it.
Yeah, that would be really cool to get that done. Yeah, I know the new Spirit of Drift album, they have a side B, or not album, but their EP. They have an etch on the back of theirs on side D, and then I know I have the last Ice Earth record because away from the politics, we opened for him like way back like 2012, and the album that I have on side D is all etched with like their Set Abomine mascot and stuff. It's really cool, looking when you like find it, But obviously, we don't talk about that much anymore because then you get lumped in with John Schaefer and his crazy shit. So yeah, I mean, it was
Back
cool
in
at the time,
Florida.
but now it's like, yeah, I don't really talk about that much anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's still fun to reminisce,
Yeah.
pre January 6th stuff. So way before, So.
Well, there's then they saw the new thing where he's on the lam again or whatever, right?
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
They can't find him.
His attorney can't find him, I guess is what it is, or maybe it's the feds. I'm not sure.
Well, it's weird because like they keep putting out like advertisements for like new Iced Earth CD, like live CDs and stuff, and it's like, okay, and like,
Hey man, those legal fees are expensive. He's got to make some money back,
Yeah,
Gotta get
I
the
mean, I don't know how much he's making now. I mean, see, you don't make shit off music. I mean, Spotify sales can't be that great.
Well, you gotta. That's why you gotta diversify. You got the Iced Earth. Have you seen the Iced Earth hot sauce and stuff?
Yes, I have.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
You don't have any, Jason?
No. I fucking hate Iced Earth.
Gotcha.
Jason.
Jason's more into like Tim Owens and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I will say that there's a Tim Owens shit he did with Richard Christie.
Oh, Charred Balls of the Damned.
Yes, and that second album they put out was actually really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, the rhythm section on it's like stupid good. It's Steve DiGiorgio and Richard Christie, so I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
It's good.
I'll stick to Winter's Bane.
There you go.
Yeah, they're good too. Yeah, I have no issues. Like a lot of these like late 90s power metal bands that came up, a lot of them are still pretty good. I mean, a lot of them are underground, but you can find those classic albums. They're still pretty legit to me.
Yeah.
Especially the American power metal, more so than the European stuff. The American power metal bands, a lot of their early stuff's still really good when it was like kind of new and exciting. Now it's, a little overplayed with all the new trad metal bands coming up. It's like, I think I heard this before, but it might be a different band. But yeah,
I think that the newer trad bands kind of have a different niche because they're kind of trying to do the recreate the 70s and 80s kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you check out like,
but there's so many of them now. Like,
oh yeah.
That's what I mean. It's like getting oversaturated where it's like I can't tell one from the other anymore.
Yeah, but like, what do you call it? Like, but if you go back to like you saying the early 2000s American power metal, like if you're talking about like Twisted Tower Dire and stuff like that, like like the early 2000s Jag Panzer stuff, that stuff's really cool. Like Svalfeg especially, like, and I guess Hammer's Misfortune too on that same kind of note. What else is there? There's like Zandel and like I'm trying to think of some other bands. And it's interesting to see that there's actually one of the bands from like up here that's kind of harkening back to that, like, USPM kind of even more like the late 80s speed metal thing that's kind of different than the other. Have you heard Solicitor, by the way?
The name seems familiar.
So their shtick is they're like from right around here. We played some shows with them and they're really good, but they're kind of like, if you think of that like Liege Lord type power metal, like the US power metal, like late 80s, like speedy, like like Agent Steel or Holy Terror and stuff like that, Realm and things of that nature. They're kind of in that vein, and they're really good.
I pulled them up right here, Solicitor. Yeah, I don't think I know them. They have two of the Motley Crue dots on their name here. So
don't let that fool you. They're not shouting the devil or anything like that. It's straight up like super fast, like like late 80s, like I said, like kind of like stuff in the vein of like Liege Lord and Holy Terror and stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check them out. I saved it, so I'll listen to it when I go to work tomorrow. Hey, real quick before we go, Leona, did these guys make you learn any Masters of the Universe lore before you joined the band, or like were you already versed in the ways?
Well, I've known these guys for like years, so it's like they already knew that I was like a nerd, so it worked out. But what was it? Yeah, I think that like the more requisite like nerdery is like stuff like along the lines of like, like obviously like Star Trek and like Star Wars and like the other like, typical like, more like nerdy shit in that vein. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got songs about like, like Dragonlance and stuff like that. So,
I was just talking about it the other day. My dad had like a complete set of Dragonlance books.
Mhm.
And then he
Right.
he got done with them and donated them all to like a used bookstore. And so
Mhm.
he didn't leave me his Dragonlance first edition paperbacks.
Damn.
Come on, man. What the hell, Because
Yeah,
I
but
was
if
gonna
you,
put them up in my room just to have, for
Mhm.
like, just nostalgia purposes. And my mom's like, oh yeah, he got rid of those. I'm like, oh well, okay. So
Yeah, and it's like despite the Skeletor name, I think that like more of the lore of like a lot of the songs harkens back to what do you call it? Like Michael Moorcock and like a lot of Elric stuff and stuff. Like if you see our
yeah,
Agents of Power album,
I went
It's
you
more
know,
of a
like the past albums too, and like
yeah,
it wasn't really all like masters. It's just like the name was really cool, so
yeah.
and available. But yeah, it'd be cool if they like made you like recite like the cartoon like intro like all the time, or something to get in the band or whatever, or like made you like recite like something from Orko in like
Well, see,
episode 50 or something like that. I don't know.
I have the advantage of there not being a lot of bass players around, so the ball's in my court,
Well, if you ever move to my area, you could probably have that same situation because everyone's like guitar or drums. There's like
It's
hardly any bass players. Like
it's
naturally,
a universal situation. I have a bunch of projects that I do like on the internet with various people, and it's basically because I have a bunch of bass guitars and I can't say no. Like I just like don't want to disappoint people, so I'm like, yeah, I'll do your album, whatever,
right?
So
as far as Masters of the Universe is concerned, the only reason I named the band Skeletor is because we ran out of names. Like me and my friend Max, the start of the band originally, we argued for like 3 hours trying to figure out a band name. And then finally he was like, who's the bad guy in He-Man? And we're like, Skeletor. And we're like, all right, that's it. We're done. And then I misspelt the name. So that's why it's Skeletor with an A.
Is that the okay?
But that was my mistake. And it's the best mistake I've ever made.
Well, I thought it was because there's a New Zealand band called Skeletor also that spelled it correctly. So I didn't know if that was like a reaction to their having it also. So
No,
I think
not at
we
all.
had it first, right? Yeah.
No, there's some band in like Alaska.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's also a German Skeletor. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but
right.
what matters is that I misspelt it, and it'll always be Skeletor.
Well, congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, my band's Temptations Wings, and there was another one in Chicago for a while that for some reason when you searched it, it would go to them. And like some guy flat out told me one time, like, man, I listened to your band last time. You're not that good. I was like, oh, what the fuck? I was like, what song do you listen to? And he told me, I was like, we don't have a song called that. It might be a different one. It was. Then he listened to ours. He's like, oh yeah, man, that's way better. He's like, when you said you sound like Black Sabbath, this didn't sound nothing like Black Sabbath. I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I was like, okay.
One of my friends came to.
I'll forgive you for saying that, but
one of my friends, when he first came to see me play with Skeletor, he said that he had looked at the material up online, and then when he ended up on like I think the German one, or maybe it was the Australian one or something, but it's the death metal one, and he was going in expecting just like death metal vocals the whole time, and Jason obviously is not doing death metal vocals, so he was in for a big surprise.
Jason, did you do all the vocal harmonies on Blood Wine?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty layered. That and the 12 Days and Nights song. I can't remember the title right this second, but
Good Day to Die.
Yeah, that's some really awesome vocal harmony layering, man. I dig it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Gotta send out props are due. Yeah, I'm glad I discovered you guys. I wish it was way before last Friday. I've had a lot of catching up to do, but yeah, I'm getting there. So
awesome. Well, hey, thanks for the support.
Yeah, new fan.
Yeah, seriously.
So, yeah, I'll be ordering the vinyl here pretty soon.
Cool.
When we get off here and I go see my wife is mad at me for going over my 90-minute time limit that I knew I wouldn't keep. So,
well, hey, thanks for having us on here to chat about Next Generation and Star Trek and general nerdery.
And heavy metal.
Yeah, man, it's all my favorite things, so like I just do this for like a passion project. There's really no viewership or money. I mean, I'll just be straight up. But
Yeah.
But, it's fun to do. You never know. It just takes that one, so
it's more about the making of the thing that makes it important, I think.
Yeah.
Well, frankly, like we're all playing like heavy metal, so we're not in it for the money. So.
Exactly.
Speaking of money, we got like 3 random orders after our album's been out a year the other day, and I was like, man, people still dig it. It was like 3 like within like 4 days. It's like, holy shit, what is going on here?
Probably someone somewhere mentioned the band.
Say again, I'm sorry.
I said someone somewhere probably was like, oh yeah, these guys are cool, and then just those 3 or 4 random people just clicked into Google and typed it in, and
it was like somebody from Germany. Of course, they ordered the CD, so I had to pay like way expensive overseas shipping rates. $15 to send a fucking CD. I was like, you gotta be kidding me with this shit.
Yeah.
And then like one was from like Oklahoma, and the other one was from like Wisconsin or something.
You get like
places, so
just completely different places. It's not all like one area. It's like spread out.
Yeah. So, all right, guys and ladies. Well, thank you for coming on. I had a pretty good time, and anytime you guys want to come back on, just hit me up. Me and Mark.
Awesome.
So me and Mark do this podcast called the Mudhorn, and I have a music one called the Ale Horn. But I haven't been doing much Ale Horn lately because everyone's so busy, like touring and stuff, that it's hard to get anybody to come on. So I got a few irons in the fire, but I have to like follow up. So I started the Mudhorn just so I can keep podcasting in place of the Ale Horn. So they kind of just like blend together. So now that I got like a mix of Mudhorn and Ale Horn in this one, so I'll just put them on both, and like
there you go.
Awesome.
Somebody will find out. But
Cool beans.
But yeah, guys, thanks for coming on, and maybe next time you can be on camera, Jason. I mean,
yeah, maybe next time.
You sound like you're a pretty good looking fellow. I don't know why you would hide.
Well, Jason's a nudist, so
I mean, it's all YouTube standards. Whatever YouTube allows, I don't care. I just go by their guides and guidelines. So whatever you got to do.
Let's just say I've had a long weekend. So
Gotcha. All right, guys, and if you're ever touring and you get over here on the East Coast around the Asheville, North Carolina area, hit me up. And
awesome.
I can give them places to play, or hopefully it's on a weekend we can play. So
perfect.
Yeah, we got a pretty gnarly place here called the Auditorium, or it's called the Odd now. They got sued by Ripley's for some reason for the name.
What?
But it's like a freak show, like a museum esque venue. They have like weird stuff. Like they actually have like a Chinese person skeleton in a glass case. Bunch of weird like skulls and like skeletons that have been like melded together to make like weird fictional creatures that are actually embalmed. Stuff like that.
Nice.
So yeah, it's
cool.
It's different, So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, True Metal, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate coming on.
Cheers.
And everyone, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it and didn't get too nerded out. But Star Trek Next Generation, Paramount Plus, they just entered the skip intro button. So no excuses now. Go watch it.
Cheers, man. Have a good one.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Y'all have
Ciao.
Thanks.